We only use 10% of our brains.
We only use 10% of our brain.
We only use 10% of our brain.
You're only using 10% of your brain.
10% may not seem like much, but it's a lot if we look at all we've done with it.
We only use 10% of our brain. How could we use more of our brain? And what would happen if we did? Even Einstein's genius has been attributed in part to his ability to access more of his brain than the rest of us. And it turns out we can easily use just as much of our brain as Einstein did, because the idea that we use only 10% of our brain power is a total lie. But we can still enhance our brains, and it's not how you think. For starters, how much of our brain do we actually use? As one of the first psychologists in history, William James, once said, quote, "We are making use of only a small part of our possible physical and mental resources." A couple decades later, author Lowell Thomas wrote in a popular book, quote, "Professor William James of Harvard used to say that the average man develops only 10% of his latent mental ability." Of course, we now know this to be incorrect, but this one sentence somehow became one of the most famous facts in all of psychology. This simple misquote from 1936 became the main plot point of a movie nearly a century later starring Scarlett Johansson and Morgan Freeman, in which Scarlett Johansson takes some drugs to access more than 10% of her brain. And it sounds like I'm making this up, but after being able to use 100% of her brain, Scarlett Johansson now has access to telepathy, telekinesis, and I promise I'm not making this up, but because she now has access to more of her brain, she can also time travel. The truth is, we use most of, if not all of our brain. Even when sleeping, your brain is astonishingly active. And if it wasn't, you'd be what some people might call dead. In the words of neurologist Barry Gordon, quote, "We use virtually every part of the brain, and that most of the brain is active almost all of the time." So if we use our entire brain, are we already at our max potential? Because if this is my brain at max potential, I'm absolutely fucked. This is a neuron, a special type of cell that sends messages throughout your brain and body. Neurons are the basic unit of the brain that make it work. Your brain is estimated to be made up of somewhere between 60 to 100 billion of these little guys. For context, that's about 1/4 of all the stars in our galaxy, and more than 6 times Mr. Beast's current YouTube subscribers. Imagine how your neurons work like a game of telephone, in which one neuron sends a message to the next neuron in line, and that neuron sends the same message to the next neuron in line, and so forth. Except, unlike a game of telephone, the message travels with accuracy and speed. You know this if you've ever touched something really hot, like a stove or fire, by accident. You'll instinctively draw your hand away from the heat source before you even feel pain, because the sensory neurons in your hand send danger messages to your brain, which are then sent back to your hand so fast that you don't even consciously recognize the pain until after you move your hand out of the way. Keep this in mind the next time your shower is hotter than you want it to be. You'll instinctively move first and feel the pain second. The point is, neurons are fast, and while we may not be able to access more of our brain, we can restructure the way our neurons are connected to each other, create more connections between neurons, and strengthen existing connections between neurons to enhance our cognitive abilities as well as our mental health. You see, our brain has what's called plasticity. Referred to as neuroplasticity or brain plasticity, it's the idea that our brain is capable of being restructured. Increasing neuroplasticity is kind of like gaining muscle from lifting weights. We use all of our body almost all of the time, just like our brain, and despite using 100% of our capacity, we could still reshape our body. However, lifting weights may take weeks or even months to see results, whereas increasing neuroplasticity can easily be done in days or even hours. Let's start with the cognitive benefits. After increasing neuroplasticity, you'll be able to learn new information faster, you'll notice improvements in your ability to focus, you will better store information to long-term memory, and you'll better recall information. On the mental health side of things, there's evidence that increasing neuroplasticity can treat depression, stress, and overall emotional regulation. In fact, the most common type of antidepressants, known as SSRIs, have been shown to increase neuroplasticity. And the most popular form of therapy, known as cognitive behavioral therapy, has also been shown to increase neuroplasticity. And as neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains,
and I think the timing is right now for people to understand these mechanisms of plasticity and start to implement them.
So what stands between you and a healthier, happier, more efficient brain? You may have seen apps like Lumosity or Elevate advertised as bringing some of these benefits, but the long-term effects of these applications remains questionable at best. The best ways to increase neuroplasticity are as follows. Consuming foods that are high in omega-3 fatty acids. This includes foods such as avocados, blueberries, and fish. Pairing these foods with a simple workout can yield extraordinary results. results. You don't need a gym membership either. Research has found that a simple 20-minute HIIT training video is enough to help both your body and brain. Neuroplasticity can also be increased by learning a new skill that challenges you, especially one that challenges you creatively, such as making art or even learning a new instrument. But there's even easier ways to get these benefits. Just getting proper sleep can help increase neuroplasticity. If for some reason you can't get enough sleep, surely you have at least 10 minutes now that you're up to do a quick mindfulness meditation, which can also increase neuroplasticity. And even if none of the previous ideas are appealing to you, simply being social has been shown to have an impact on neuroplasticity. As one research article states, among the influences on brain structure and function that are most powerful in inducing plastic change are social influences. But maybe you're an introvert. Turns out, playing video games can cause a neuroplasticity increase as well. One study found that structural changes in your brain can occur after just 16 hours of gaming. Of course, too much of anything is a bad thing, so mix up which neuroplasticity strategies you're using. We should all be striving to improve our mental health, as it's just as important, if not more important, than our physical health. And as you get older, your mental ability is only gonna decline. And there is only one person out of all the people that have ever existed, out of all the people that currently do exist, and out of all the people that will ever exist, that can make you the best version of yourself. And that's you. I know it's been a while since my last upload, and I've been trying to figure out exactly what type of content I want to do on this channel. I started with breakdowns of recent psychology studies, and then shifted more into psychology videos about pop culture. I did a psychology tips and tricks style video, and now there's this video, whatever style you would call this. So if there's a style of content I've done so far that you prefer, or if there's some other style of content that I haven't even tried yet, or a topic you'd like to see covered in this sort of style video, let me know in the comments, because I'm more than happy to make whatever you want to see.